Hey everyone, my name is Cole. We are entering movie season, ladies and gentlemen. We have Transformers, The Flash, Asteroid City, Past Lives, Insidious 4, Mission Impossible, Barbie, Oppenheimer, and more on the way. This year will hopefully get better because the first half of this year was a bit disappointing, in my eyes at least. With letdowns such as Creed 3, Dungeons & Dragons, and Knock at the Cabin, which, hey, that's an M. Night movie, so shame on me for expecting it to be a good movie. But it's been a solid year for the horror genre. With the horror comedy Megan, which was quite successful in the box office and enjoyable in my opinion, and the new Scream film, our horror renaissance continues. The last 2 years have been terrific for the horror scene. With movies like X, Black Phone, The Barbarian, and Smile, we have been on a roll. To my surprise, a new horror movie that I watched this past weekend was The Boogeyman, based on Stephen King's short story, and it was astonishing. Directed by Rob Savage, a new face in the horror scene, The Boogeyman is about a family reeling from the tragic death of their mother. A teenage girl and her younger sister find themselves plagued by a sadistic presence in their house and struggle to get their grieving father to pay attention before it's too late. The synopsis does not do it justice. This film is terrifying and, in my opinion, great. One of my favorite quotes is by H.P. Lovecraft, which states, "The oldest and strongest emotion of mankind is fear, and the oldest and strongest kind of fear is fear of the unknown." This excerpt perfectly illustrates the direct feelings I experienced when watching this film. The Boogeyman captures that childlike emotion when you look into the darkness of your closet or the depths under your bed. An example of a recent film that attempted this was Skinamarink. Whether you love it or hate it, that film attempted to rekindle that fear. It failed in my eyes, and I absolutely hate that movie. I'm one of those people. I'm sorry. The Boogeyman excels in its direction by Rob Savage and camera work by Eli Bourne, who actually has shot 2022's Hellraisers, which I heard is incredible. I have not seen it. Let me know if it's good in the comments. This film looks amazing. Typical color grading you see in usual horror films that has dark, high contrast, and usual stuff, but this film doesn't look cheaply made on its $35 million budget. It will hold up for a while. The Boogeyman itself looks pretty good CGI-wise. They try to show it as little as possible and keep it in the shadows, both because it makes sense in the story and built up lore, and for effective use of the budget. That's honestly how you do it. You have to find ways to utilize your budget without showing us a CGI monster or effect that could look like garbage. Well done. To talk about the horror, because that is what you are here for, of course, several scenes find creative ways to build tension, unique gags that scared the hell out of me. This film in general was pretty terrifying. There were some really good scares that had the entire theater screaming, and my friend and I almost jumped out of our chairs. It was absolutely hilarious, and I had, once again, just a fantastic time with this movie. Now, with the horror aspect, it's not perfect. There were some cheap jump scares that dampened the effect, but they were few and far between. The Boogeyman is one of the scariest films I have seen in years, I swear to God. The number one movie I can compare it to, which is my favorite horror movie of all time, is Sinister. From its unique scares, use of elevated horror, and a strong script, Sinister has always been incredibly appealing to me, which is a huge reason why I liked this film and why it resonated with me. Another great aspect of The Boogeyman was that this film had exceptional acting. We have some great and honest performances that seem to understand the source material and context of the scenes. Speaking of the source material, I have never read a Stephen King novel, and I haven't read this one, so I apologize for not knowing if this is a faithful adaptation to his work or not. In my opinion, this film has a beautiful and genuine message that had me a bit emotionally moved once the credits rolled. You know it's a good horror movie when you walk out understanding a general theme and message. Because honestly, a lot of horror movies you are there for the scares, and a lot of them have pretty awful stories. The main theme that I interpreted was, just because you lose someone, it doesn't mean that the memories you made together and the love you had are gone. That love will always be with you, through the darkness and the light. That love is as bright as the sunshine, almost like a flame, in those dark times of mourning and moments of sadness. That loss of a loved one is not easy, and I'm lucky enough to never have experienced it yet, but it breaks my heart for those close to me who have. Another important message this film expressed was the importance of being there for your loved ones, making sure not to distance yourself, even from your kids, because that is when the Boogeyman comes for them, when you are not paying attention. Maybe I'm overanalyzing the film. Oftentimes I do that because I like to think of it as me using my brain because a lot of people consume shitty Marvel products and animated movies exclusively. But I see the Boogeyman as hidden symbolism for depression, despair, and loneliness, including feeling similar. The reason I say this is because I noticed every time you saw the Boogeyman, the characters in the film were reflecting on the loss of a loved one, or struggling to cope with how they may have treated their family. The Boogeyman is used as symbolism to show that you need to be there for your family more than ever, because when you lose that loved one or are struggling with a life-altering event, that isolation from others can bring that feeling of sorrow and dismay, or in this film's case, the Boogeyman. The message of this film is so beautifully complex and deep. I hope the director and writers had the intention of using the Boogeyman as the embodiment of these feelings. I think it's beautiful that they utilize the idea of the Boogeyman as the presence of the negative feelings and dark thoughts that you truly experience when you're going through tough times. We need more talented filmmakers and creators such as this who create powerful and thought-provoking films. That I honestly believe was this film. And honestly, in my opinion, there wasn't really pacing issues with this film. I was a little nervous in the second act as I thought they were about to have an Antlers moment, which if you saw that movie, it's probably one of the most disappointing horror movies ever made. Maybe I'll make a video on that one day because it honestly upsets me because I was anticipating that movie for years because it kept getting delayed during COVID. I'm ranting. Oh my God. I was a little nervous that they were going to drop the ball on the third act and they were going to have some like alien shit where the main character fights the Boogeyman. I was going to be pissed, but in reality, they actually went in a better direction than I expected, and the ending holds up, guys. Like, every act of this movie I think is excellent, and it doesn't have an ending that's unsatisfying. And of course, those cheap scares are mainly the only negatives I have. The story could have been a little more complex in certain aspects, mainly pertaining to the relationship between the sisters, but it's honestly not the worst. It's of course not the most unique horror film I've ever seen, so it's not going to get a perfect 5 out of 5 for me, but overall, I would say this film is underrated. It's getting fairly average reviews on Letterboxd, averaging at 3 out of 5 stars, but I personally have it at a 4 out of 5, because I have had a great time with the film, and I appreciate almost every aspect of it. If you guys are bored and want to go watch a horror movie, this is a must-see, in my opinion. If you are new to the channel, I did just drop a video about the new Spider-Verse movie, which I actually saw the night before I saw the Boogeyman. It's going to be a crazy few weeks, guys. I'm going to be going to the theater like twice a weekend. It's going to be a mess. I'm going to be like living on the street because I have no money. Go check out that video. Leave a like. I worked really hard on it, especially on the editing, and I'm still getting used to it, so I'm sorry if there's errors or stuff that doesn't look that clean. I'm doing my best, guys. I'm doing my best. But if you don't mind, just liking and subscribing. It'll really help me out. And as always, guys, peace.